Hi, my name is Maxine, and today I'm going to be attempting to fix this neckline on the first raglan sweater that I ever made. Let's get started. Ironically, the neckline that you see here is actually the product of me trying to fix the original neckline that I knit after I cast on. I ended up undoing the original neckline because it sat really high up on my neck and was really uncomfortable. But the complication of that was that I was undoing the cast on edge, so it did get a little messy and I left things kind of wonky at the end. However, it's been a few months since I made the sweater, so I finally feel like I'm ready to come back to it, and I wanted to show y'all how I was gonna maybe fix it. So strap in, because I honestly don't know how this is gonna go. I started by inserting a lifeline into the row where I wanted to restart knitting. To do this, I inserted my needle into the left leg of each stitch and went all the way around the sweater. Once the line was fully inserted, I cut the bind off and attempted to simply frog back the ribbing and the rows of knit to get to where the lifeline started. This ended up being really difficult because at the top of the sweater there was a bunch of weaved in ends, so I ended up just going in with my scissors and cutting the neckline right off. This was quite messy, but it allowed me to get all of the yarn out of there and completely reset to where the lifeline was. I did drop a few stitches in this process, so I kept my crochet hook handy to pick up these stitches. I used my stitch markers because some of the drop stitches were in the same row but under the lifeline. I used my stitch marker to hang onto them until I could slip them back onto my needles. Once I had all of the old yarn pulled out, I was able to insert new working yarn and start knitting like normal. Before I resumed doing my stockinette stitches, I placed some stitch markers to try and line up where I was doing my raglan increases previously when I was knitting the sweater top down. I didn't exactly get them in the right spot because when I undid the neckline the first time, I wasn't sure how to turn increases into decreases, so I kind of just didn't do anything. However, this time around, I figured that I could just do a SSK and then a knit two together, and that would probably work for doing some raglan decreases going from the bottom up. The yarn I used for this project was the Red Heart Super Saver Favorite Stripe yarn, and don't at me because I actually really enjoyed working with this yarn, and I think the colors of the sweater are really cute. I did knit the sweater originally using US size 8 needles. However, my size 8s are currently occupied with another raglan sweater that I'm working on, so I just grabbed my US 7 needles to pick up from here. I only had a little bit of yarn left from the skeins that I used to make my sweater originally, so I'm really hoping at this point that I don't run into many issues and that it's easier enough for me to knit from here. I did a check in the mirror to see how things were sitting after knitting a few test rounds, and I feel like it is sitting at a good spot, so I decided to start some German short rows here to properly shape the neckline, since previously I knit the sweater before I even knew that neckline shaping was a thing. This is my second time ever doing German shirt rows, and I honestly think that they're quite easy. I'm not sure why people in the knitting community seem to hate them so much, because if you know how to knit and purl, you can easily do German shirt rows. Even though I knit the sweater going top down, I am now technically knitting it from the bottom up, so I am building my short rows from long to short before continuing to work back in the round. In total, I did 6 full short rows, 3 times back and forth, to shape the neckline. I did a bonus back and forth German short row on the left side of the sweater only, because I think I messed up the previous time that I fixed this neckline and noticed that I may have dropped a row of stitches, so it was looking a little lopsided. Once the short rows were done, I did 1 full round of stockinette and did a simple bind off to test the shape of the neckline. Due to the striping of the colorway, I ended the sweater on this really bright red section, but I thought the contrast was way too bright for the rest of the neck area, so I undid the cast off and redid it with a purple yarn that I used to do the ribbing on the sleeves and the bottom of the sweater. I originally thought that I was going to pick up stitches from the bound off edge to make the neckline, but unfortunately the bound off edge made the neck hole quite tight and I was worried about getting the sweater over my head. So I once again undid the bound off edge and decided that I'm just going to finish the sweater by doing some traditional 1x1 ribbing and finally ending with a tubular bind off to keep the neckline nice and stretchy. Okay, all the sweater is finally done. Are we ready to see it? I'm so excited. Honestly, this could not have turned out any better. I have no words. If you do look closely, obviously it's not perfect. Knitting is never going to be perfect, so here we are. Really, I'm so happy with the way this turned out. I love the shaping of it. Finally more even than it was before. It actually sits like a normal sweater. I'm so happy. Honestly, if any of you have sweaters with wonky necklines, I highly recommend going back to fix it because it could be a little bit of a pain, but honestly the payoff is so good and you're gonna love wearing your sweater even more than you did before because you're not gonna be so busy staring at what's wrong with it. In this case, I feel like the sweater just became so much more wearable and honestly so much more comfortable because it's not like sliding down my neck weirdly. I am so happy. And that's basically it. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for being here. I would appreciate if you would subscribe to my channel to support my work in the future, as well as give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment and let me know what you're working on, or if you have any necklines that you would like to fix, or if you're working on any sweaters and might be working on anything else, who knows. But thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for sticking around for what I may post in the future. Bye!